And now the hot topic of the hour, a battleground judicial win for Democrats in Wisconsin as House Republicans expand the majority with Florida special elections. Fox News digital political correspondent Brooke Singman now with the details from last night's election results. Brooke.
Good morning, Maria. That's right. So Wisconsin Supreme Court will keep its 4-3 liberal majority. The election's historic turnout caused 7 Milwaukee polling places to run out of ballots, according to city officials. Democrat-backed Judge Susan Crawford defeating conservative Judge Brad Schimel in the most expensive judicial race in United States history.
My promise to Wisconsin is clear. I will be a fair, impartial, and common sense justice on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And I want to thank everyone across the state who helped to get us to this point. I'm here because of you.
Schimel spoke after the loss. Watch.
You put all your heart into it, and I can't thank you enough for everything you did to try to make this a success, but it just didn't work. And I've called Judge Crawford and conceded.
Meanwhile, President Trump hailed Wisconsin voters for enshrining the state's voter ID law in their constitution. Trump saying, quote, "This is a big win for Republicans, maybe the biggest win of the night. It should allow us to win Wisconsin like I just did in the presidential election for many years to come." Meanwhile, in Florida's 1st District, Republican Jimmy Patronis won the seat previously held by Matt Gaetz before his resignation in November, defeating Democrat Gay Vallimont. And Trump-backed State Senator Randy Fine defeating Democrat Josh Weil for Florida's House seat previously held by National Security Advisor Michael Waltz. Trump celebrating these victories, saying, quote, "Both Florida House seats have been won big by the Republican candidate. The Trump endorsement, as always, proved far greater than the Democrats' forces of evil. Congratulations to America."
So I promise you this. You have entrusted me with something extraordinary, the opportunity to go and fight for you. I'm not going to let you down. I'm not going to let my family down. I'm not going to let my boys down. And I'm definitely not going to let my mom down.
CD1 is where the hopes and dreams of the Democratic Party come to die. Let it be known that this election is a reminder that Florida Panhandle will forever be red and it'll be forever Trump country.
Yeah, these victories give 2 more seats in the House for Republicans, expanding their slim 5-vote majority by 2. Maria?
All right, Brooke, thanks so much. Brooke Singman. Well, look, you've got the 2 seats in Florida, but then there's Wisconsin and redistricting to come. Ashley, your reaction?
I don't think there's that many surprises from last night. I mean, this is exactly what most people were thinking was going to happen. My only surprise would be that in Wisconsin that the Democrat won by so much. I mean, I thought it was going to be a little bit closer. But the voter ID is, the president's right. I mean, that is the most important part of the evening.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of drama of we were going to lose those 2 House seats in Florida, but it wasn't even close.
No, and they even tried to couch Maria as it was more narrow. It was 14 points in Fine's race, and so he still won by 14. So they're trying to say, the Republicans might have a problem in Florida in the midterms. This state, Florida, I'm from Florida, this state clearly supports Trump and his agenda, and I think will in the midterms as well.
Meanwhile, Elon Musk, who poured millions into the Wisconsin Supreme Court, now with another shocking example of government abuse. Musk says that the U.S. Institute of Peace deleted a terabyte of financial data, telling X this was done, quote, to cover their crimes. But they don't understand technology, so we recovered it, says Musk. We want to find out exactly what was on this terabyte that they tried to destroy and why there was financial fraud here. Doge is alleging massive fraud, waste, and abuse, including payments to the Taliban, to Iraq, all happening at the NGO. Adam, your reaction?
A terabyte is a lot of data.
Yeah.
For perspective, I recently had a problem with my phone, 500 gigabytes. Well, a terabyte is double what I have on my phone. Every text message I've ever sent, every email I've ever sent or received, all my photos, copies of all my research from Bullseye Brief, on and on and on. All that on my phone, and they deleted 2 times more than that.
Wow.
So for anyone who thinks that what Doge is doing is a witch hunt, they are mistaken. Doge is it's rooting out stuff that needs to see the light of day.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me what I learned yesterday, and that is the number of people who were given Social Security numbers who were actually non-citizens.
Yeah, it's shocking.
It's what I expected in terms of the Social Security numbers and them trying to set them up to vote, but the numbers exceeded my expectations. And now we find out that there was a full terabyte deleted. I mean, this is getting serious. There seems to be, I mean, these are suggestions that there is serious fraud underway here.
And that's why the emotions are so high and people hate him for what he is doing. He is shining a light on very dark places that need to be unearthed. We would never have known what happened at USAID, right? Right? I mean, think of all the crazy waste that you have mentioned here on the show.
Yeah. All right. We're just getting started this morning. We've got a lot coming up.
So, Maria, he didn't mention any specific NGOs, but Republicans have pointed out that $2 billion environmental grant that was awarded last year to by the Biden administration, to be clear, to a consortium of organizations that was linked to former Georgia Democrat Stacey Abrams.
Yeah. And that philanthropy got nothing the year earlier, but then got $2 billion. And it was hidden in the Inflation Reduction Act. You mentioned this yesterday on the show before Elon Musk went and gave us those details last night. This seems wildly fraudulent.
Wildly fraudulent. And it's been happening. I can't say it's been happening in plain sight because they've done everything to keep it out of plain sight. But now he's putting it into plain sight, which is why they hate him for it. He is suddenly helping all of us realize just how wasteful our money has been spent.
I mean, no wonder we have $36 trillion in debt, and they won't agree to any spending cuts. Every couple months we go through this. There's all this money embedded for their friends.
Maria, I have a lot of friends who are inside the Beltway, and they call Elon Musk Lord of the Doge, and it's not a good thing. It's like it's actually Lord of the Flies. I mean, in other words, they're going to self-attack themselves. And the truth is that anybody that takes that, I don't agree with that, and anybody that takes that stand, I feel like you're just accepting fraud and you're accepting everything status quo, and the American public said change and transparency.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I just think, though, if this is fraudulent, which I think it is, then they need to start prosecuting some of these people.
Amen.
Because the talking point will go away from the Democrats of attacking him if they start actually pressing charges.
Well, I mean, so over the weekend, this is the first time I heard this, Maria. It was from that big presentation he gave. And he talked about the NGOs. He goes, they send the money overseas. This is his quote, to one NGO. Then they'll go through a bunch of them. And then I'm highly confident that a bunch of that money then comes back to the U.S. and lands in the pockets of lawmakers. And he called out some Democrats. So I told this to you yesterday. I want to see what
that's a pretty big
money laundering.
There's so much here. There's so much here. How about all of those people who were given Social Security numbers so that they could turn those people into voters? How about this terabyte that was deleted? And then he says, well, they don't understand technology, so we caught it. I mean, it's all extraordinary. Cheryl, thank you. Topic of the hour, March border crossings show the most secure border in modern U.S. history. The latest numbers from Customs and Border Patrol show just over 7,000 recorded encounters at our southern border last month. That is more than 1,100 fewer crossings than in February, a dramatic drop compared to the Biden-era monthly averages of over 155,000 a month. The White House defending its deportation efforts, particularly one Salvadoran migrant they say is an MS-13 terrorist involved in human trafficking. Watch.
It was an administrative error. The administration maintains the position that this individual who was deported to El Salvador and will not be returning to our country was a member of the brutal and vicious MS-13 gang. That is fact number one. Fact number two, we also have credible intelligence proving that this individual was involved in human trafficking. And fact number three, this individual was a member, actually a leader of the brutal MS-13 gang, which this president has designated as a foreign terrorist organization. Fact number four is that foreign terrorists do not have legal protections in the United States of America anymore.
Vice President J.D. Vance posted facts about these deportation efforts on X, but Democrats still are demanding the return of that one migrant. Watch this.
He was shackled and put on that airplane and shipped off to the torturers of El Salvador without ever having the benefit of those two most beautiful words in the English language, due process. He was not actually a gangbanger. He was not a criminal. I call on my colleagues right now to demand the return of people unlawfully taken to El Salvador on that so-called plane full of gangbangers.
I'll be speaking more about this with House Homeland Security Committee Chairman Mark Green. Stay with us for the latest out of the chairman coming up. Meanwhile, Ashley, I mean, there's got to be ways that we can, in terms of identifying him as a member of these gangs. Is there not?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you know, I'm very conservative about this with my homeland background. But so I just don't think this is going to be a winning argument for Democrats at all. No, this is the number one or number two with the economy issue with the election. There were 10 million people that came across the border under Biden. 250 of those were on the terrorist watch list. The country voted to get people that are not in this country legally. I understand this person, one individual was here legally, but he was still a member of a terrorist organization, MS-13, and a leader. I just don't think people are going to care. And if Democrats want to continue to hang their hat on this issue, they're going to lose.
Yeah, what do you think?
You know, Maria, the term gaslighting just jumps out at me because we heard so much over the Biden administration. We can't do anything. Congress has to act. Congress has to act. We all knew it was bunk. We knew that the executive order remain in Mexico policy is what did it. But 155,000 a day on average to 7,000 for the month of March. Please do not listen to these liars that come into your television and say, it can't be us. It's not us.
But it was 155,000 for the month versus 7,000 for the month. I remember there were days when we were talking about the peak when there were the 8,000 people a day, coming here. Your reaction?
Well, the irony of this whole thing is that we limit H-1B visas for highly talented people, scientists, doctors, accountants, entrepreneurs, software writers, etc. They all can come into this country on H-1B visas, and we only issue 85,000 a year, right? So we're capping the smart people who can create stuff, and we were letting in everybody else. It was just completely backwards, and thank goodness Donald Trump has come into office and is righting so many of those wrongs.
But there was a reason for that, right? The Democrats wanted to turn them into voters.
Of course.
It's very clear
They were,
that this was all about holding on to their grip on power.
Yeah.
Period. The Senate Judiciary Committee, meanwhile, will hold a hearing on activist judges blocking President Trump's agenda after the House held a heated hearing on this yesterday. Watch this.
MAGA Republicans in Congress have called for judges to be impeached, not because they committed a high crime or misdemeanor, but simply because they ruled against Trump.
If you don't like the injunctions, stop doing the illegal stuff. If we continue down this road, then we will not have a rule of law. What it means to have law and order in this country is that you follow the order and you go through the appeals process, even if you dislike what the judge did.
AOC, as we know her, filed articles of impeachment on Justice Thomas and Alito. Ms. Crockett was one of the co-sponsors along with Mr. Cohen, both members of this committee. It does seem interesting that when the shoe is on the other foot, everyone is self-righteous.
Very good point by Darrell Issa there, Rebecca.
I just love it. And I have to say, as a lawyer, this is so disheartening because when you have activist judges, they implement policy all the time. That's not their rule. I mean, if you just look at the three divisions of government, judicial is supposed to basically say whether or not it's constitutional, not have activist policies. These judges are doing the opposite. These judges are basically saying, oh, you're trying as a new administration to come in and undo this right to employment. You can't fire people. You can't let this person go. And it's going to go to the Supreme Court, of course. It's a big problem, Maria. It is a huge problem. This is what people think of as the deep state. When someone tries to come in and do something and they're blocked at every step, whether it's judicially or legislatively.
Well, the Democrats put the judicial branch now in charge of the resistance movement, to Ashley.
Well, absolutely. But what concerns me, there's two things. One, I want to see what the Senate says today. It's usually a little calmer of a branch of government. Two is the Department of this has been weaponized in regards to, and the Attorney General has been weaponized since Biden. So do people believe in the law order anymore, which is a concern? And third, I don't like that everyone's using impeachment for everything on both sides of the aisle. It's kind of gone too far.
Yeah, that's right. All right, we are just getting
Then he says, I created the entire database in the basement of my dorm room, where, by the way, every time it rains, it floods.
Oh.
93 grand a year for this. Yeah.
Wow.
And by the way, I just want to add here, Brown has got last year $254 million in federal funding.
Yeah.
$254 million.
Well, that's going to be targeted.
I'm sure the administration is looking at that $254 million as they rip funding from Columbia and threaten Harvard as well.
Yeah.
But look, good for him. I mean, isn't that the kind of notable things that Brown would want to see that their students doing?
Yeah.
Get creative and I like
training
it.
the future leaders of America
Exactly.
to lift up
What's
the
the
hood,
problem,
shine a
Ron?
spotlight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
love
fact,
it.
I think we should call on students at all Ivies and all universities, do the same thing, and let's get the white papers going on what the actual expenses are and how these colleges are actually run.
I just don't think anyone's learning their lesson yet, that this stuff is not working with this administration.
Exactly.
And the $250 million is a perfect example. I mean, they already had the issue with the professor there and deporting him. And so this is going to be, I'm just waiting for the president to come out and say, let's look at their...
All of them.
Yeah.
And,
And he is looking
look,
at all of
I'm not an Ivy educated person. I'm sorry. But, I went to a state school. I can't believe what these universities are doing with kids.
Well,
and so many parents are just saying, that's it. I'm not going to send my child to an Ivy League university if this is what they're going to be subjected to.
Well, they've had a real failure in stopping anti-Semitism.
Yes.
Anti-Semitism needs to stop. And the administration wants to see real evidence that they're actually doing something about it. And so that's the issue. On the other story you reported, who exactly is stealing from Jeff Bezos' companies to stick it to Jeff Bezos,
It started online as this movement, and then this woman decides to go out and profile it's a younger group. They've decided, because he's done these horrible things to the Washington Post and he's aligned himself with President Trump, that they're going to make him suffer by stealing
that
from
is
Whole
the
Foods.
exact thing that this administration is going to correct.
Yeah.
Because going into this administration, there was constant lawlessness.
Right.
Yes.
And here we see it again. And President Trump and Pam Bondi, the AG, are going to put a stop to it.
Yeah, well, it's like burning Teslas or killing a CEO of United
That's
Healthcare.
what you
No,
do.
you can't do that.
Because you just don't like what's going on. Ridiculous. Sheriff, thanks a lot. All right, America's Heartland meal. Let's just face it. This is a cost that will be eaten by these companies. They may ultimately have to raise prices on cars, but longer term, American citizens are going to be happy to have these supply chains here, don't you think?
Absolutely, no doubt, Maria. I mean, when we basically outsourced everything to Asia and China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001, we've seen nothing but, cheaper goods manufactured outside of our laws, our protections. But then they're coming in and we're expecting to get everything for really cheap. And now we want everything to be based here again. It's going to be more expensive, but you can't have it both ways. You can't have the cheapest goods ever and have it all produced in America.
And the same idea goes to the potential decoupling with China, right?
Yeah,
Actually,
absolutely.
I mean, look, you've got an adversarial country trying to undermine America at every turn. From all of these bad behavior that we've seen, the surveillance balloon, the fentanyl, the COVID, everything, intellectual property theft. To say we want to decouple from China altogether is a noble move, but it's going to cause a lot of things to go higher in price.
Absolutely, but let's remember 2017 when we did in 2018 when he did the tariffs the first time. Remember the sky was falling and every Christmas light was going to cost like $100. I mean, it was such drama. And none of that really happened. The companies learned how to diversify. From China. I'm talking about China specifically. They will adapt, and this is what's going to happen here. You're exactly right. The uncertainty is what the issue is. But if we want to make America strong, this is what he needs to do. And there will be some pain, but I think what he really needs to do is make these decisions and stick to them, so it doesn't continue to go up and down. And
because the questions are the issue. But look, I'm a national security hawk, and I really do think this is about national security as well as the hollowing out of a manufacturing. So I agree with you.
Especially our pharmaceuticals.
Look, you're going to have to ride this sellout out right this point until we get the clarity. We'll see what the president says today at 4 o'clock. Hell, look, Adam, this whole thing around the taxes and President Trump's new ideas is why some senators have told me they would not be surprised that if a reconciliation process happened in 3 bills. Okay, first border, military, then the nuts and bolts of the other parts of the agenda, and then what Marsha Blackburn called the kitchen sink, which is no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and all that. We don't have clarity on that either. And let's not forget, April, the month of April, is not just clarity on tariffs. We're going to have clarity on the reconciliation package in the next 2 weeks. They're going to try to get something out before they leave for the Easter recess.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. In fact, I am someone who wishes that we had worked on taxes first and the budget first and then address tariffs later. If it takes 3 bills, my goodness, I guess it takes 3 bills. So much for the one big beautiful bill. But
well, look, Elise Stefanik said we're on a one big beautiful bill track, so we'll see. But there are other senators saying that this is never going to pass.
And that may be one of the key reasons why she was clawed back from the UN posting and kept in the House. Her vote is needed.
Yeah, for sure.
The 3 bills is really tough politically because if you don't have the taxes driving the package, it's really hard to get done. I mean, that's really the end game. Obviously, we need the money for the border. We need money for some of these other environmental issues, but the taxes is what's driving it. I think what you said, Maria, is very important. We have the president today and Secretary Bessent meeting with the entire Republican caucus. We have the president meeting with some of these really conservative members that are budget hawks. Ron Johnson.
Oh, they want to go back to pre-COVID spending levels.
Correct, which 100% everyone around this table would agree with, but that's really hard to do. But I think that you see tonight, after this trade resolution vote, you see that John Thune moves forward with the vote-a-rama process, so cloture, so the 50 hours starts. And I think Thursday or Friday, as you said, this happens, and then it goes to the House floor next week. And then it's going to take the president a lot of arm twisting to get it done in the House.
Well, look, all this uncertainty comes back to that first question that I asked President Trump last month in the interview. Watch it. Can you give us a sense of whether or not we are going to get clarity for the business community?
Well, I think so. But, the tariffs could go up as time goes by, and they may go up. And, I don't know if it's predictability. I think
that's not clarity.
No, I think that they say that. It sounds good to say. But for years, the big globalists have been ripping off the United States. They've been taking money away from the United States. And all we're doing is getting some of it back. And we're going to treat our country fairly.
Companies just want to know how much. They want the clarity on what it's going to cost them.
Maria, deals will get done. M&A has obviously dropped off precipitously because there's been so much volatility and so much back and forth. And there's going to be tit for tat when he announced these tariffs today, and there will be a retaliation from countries. And so it will go back and forth, probably because he is leveraging this and negotiating. That's his art of the deal strategy. Let me leverage the power I have to get what I want. And I just want to add that Cory Booker is no Mr. Smith goes to Washington.
No, all right, quick break, and then we'll be right back with 30 minutes away from the opening bell for a Wednesday. Stay with us. You're watching Mornings with Maria, live on Fox Business.